Welcome to another episode of Brown Bear Book Talks. I'm Miss Quesada Montville from Brown Middle School. In today's episode, I am telling you about my top 10 books of the 2010s. I shared this top 10 on Instagram back in January, but I know a lot of students aren't actually on Instagram, and it was shared with a limited audience, and of course, I can say a little bit more in a book talk than I can in an Instagram caption. So I'm really excited to tell you about these books. Some of them are some of my favorite books ever, so I hope you enjoy them as well. Number 10, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is a beautiful novel that deals with privilege, race, and the pressures of family history, but the addition of an unreliable narrator and a mind-blowing twist ending make it something really special. Cadence is upset with her so-called friends. The Liars, as nicknamed by their family, spent every summer together on the family's private island. But then 2 years ago, everything changed. Cadence had an accident and almost drowned, and ever since then, she's different. Then last summer, when she was traveling with her father, she emailed her friends. They never answered. Maybe they forgot about her, or didn't care at all. Now this summer, she's back on the island, and Johnny, Mirren, and Gat are acting like it's old times again, like their friendship stayed the same. Now it's just Cadence and her family that are acting weird. They keep acting like she's fragile, like she can't be trusted, like every time she gets one of her headaches, it means more than it should. Things haven't been the same since her accident, but that doesn't mean she can't live a normal life now, and it's important to Cadence to get back to normal. It's important for her to be with her friends again, because when her family starts driving her crazy, her friends are the support system she needs. And even more important than their support, Cadence realizes that her friends know what happened during her accident, the one she can't really remember. She already knows that her family is lying to her, or at least not telling her the whole truth, but she has to find out what really happened. She has to make her friends tell her the truth that her family has been keeping from her. After all, what are friends for? We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Number 9, The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. I love Maggie Stiefvater so much. I absolutely adore her books, and this is my favorite by her. This is a unique fantasy that has a plucky heroine who pushes gender norms. There's a lot of action, and there's a swoon-worthy romance. This isn't just one of my favorite books of the decade, but one of my favorite fantasy standalone books ever. It happens at the start of every November, the Scorpio races. Riders attempt to keep hold of their water horses long enough to make it to the finish line. Some riders live, others die. At age 19, Sean Kendrick is the returning champion. He's a young man of few words, and if he has any fears, he keeps them buried deep where no one else can find them. Puck Connolly is different. She never meant to ride in the Scorpio races, but fate hasn't given her much of a chance. So she enters the competition, the first girl ever to do so, and she is in no way prepared for what is going to happen. This is a book full of surprises. Again, lots of excitement, and Maggie Stiefvater can really do romance well. I highly recommend this and any of her other books, The Scorpio Races. Number 8, The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. In this novel in verse, Xiomara uses her poetry to express herself and cope with a variety of conflicts. Elizabeth Acevedo so perfectly captures that feeling of your true self being invisible, while the rest of you is on display. The Poet X is a book that I wish I had in high school, and I'm sure many readers see themselves in its pages. Xiomara is a young girl in Harlem, and she discovers slam poetry as a way to understand her mother's religion and her own relationship to the world. This is Elizabeth Acevedo's debut novel, and her second novel lived up to this one as well. Xiomara Batista feels unheard. She's unable to hide in her Harlem neighborhood. Ever since her body grew into curves, she has learned to let her fists and her fierceness do the talking. But Xiomara has plenty she wants to say, and she pours all of her frustration and passion onto the pages of a leather notebook, reciting the words to herself like prayers, especially after she catches feelings for a boy in her bio class named Aman, who her family can never know about. With Mommy's determination to force her daughter to obey the laws of the church, Xiomara understands that her thoughts are best kept to herself. So when she's invited to join her school's slam poetry club, she doesn't know how she could ever attend without her mommy finding out, much less speaking her words out loud. But still, she can't stop thinking about her performing her poems. In the face of a world that may not want to hear her, Xiomara refuses to be silent. The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Number 7, Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness. This is book 3 of the Chaos Walking trilogy, and it is a thrilling conclusion to the series. This is a sci-fi masterpiece. Yep, I went there. It forces you to confront difficult questions with such incredible depth while keeping you on the edge of your seat with action. This entire series is a must-read. The first book in the Chaos Walking trilogy is The Knife of Never Letting Go. In this book, Todd Hewitt is the only boy in a town of men, and ever since the settlers were infected with the noise germ, Todd can hear everything the men think, and they can hear everything he thinks. Todd is just a month away from becoming a man himself, and in the midst of all the noise, he knows that the town is hiding something from him, something so awful that Todd is forced to flee with only his dog for company. The dog, whose simple, loyal voice he can also hear in his head. As he escapes from the town, he stumbles upon a strange and eerie silence. A girl. Who is she? Why wasn't she killed by the germ like all of the other females on the New World? This is propelled forward by this gritty narration, and this is just this white-knuckle journey. In the second book, The Ask and the Answer, we pick up with a wounded Viola, who Todd has carried right into the hands of their worst enemy. They are separated, Todd is imprisoned and forced to learn the new ways, and he is still searching for answers to all the secrets around them. In this third and final book, The Monsters of Men, a world-ending war surges to life around Todd and Viola as they face monstrous decisions that they have to make. You see the consequences of each action, each word are unspeakably vast, and they need to figure out whether they are going to follow a tyrant or a terrorist to save the life of the one you love the most or thousands of strangers, and whether they are going to believe in redemption or that all is lost. This is a series that really keeps you guessing and keeps the action going right until a shocking finale. The Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. Number 6, The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This graphic novel is something really special. Frances is a dressmaker, and she is recruited to work for Prince Sebastian and his alter ego, fashion icon Lady Crystalia. This book takes place in Paris at the turn of the century. The illustrations are absolutely beautiful, and the city and the fashion is just captivating. The friendship quickly develops between Sebastian and Frances, but could there be more? And what happens if Sebastian's secret is revealed? Frances is one of only 2 people that knows that he spends his evenings in the dresses as Lady Crystalia. Frances is a talented dressmaker, and she has her own dreams of greatness in the glamorous world of Paris fashion. Is protecting Sebastian's secrets worth her own dreams and aspirations? This sweet romance captures the nuances of identity and the power of acceptance, both from yourself and from the people around you. Jen Wang is an absolute master of the graphic novel medium. Her other books are equally impressive. I highly recommend them. The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. Number 5, The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This book is a powerful historical fiction novel about identity, family, and of course, the life-changing implications of war. Ada's strength and determination are inspiring, but what really sets her character apart is how authentic her doubts and coping mechanisms are. Ada doesn't just have to deal with an untreated clubfoot, but also with years of neglect and abuse at the hands of her mother. World War II's impact on England drives the plot forward, and there's plenty of excitement and action. This is one of those books that just clicks with any reader, and Kimberly Brubaker Bradley is truly a master of historical fiction. This book starts with 10-year-old Ada, who has never left her one-room apartment. Her mother is too humiliated by Ada's twisted foot to let her outside. So when her little brother Jamie is shipped out of London to escape the war, Ada doesn't waste a minute. She sneaks out to join him. This begins a new adventure for Ada and for Susan Smith, the woman who is forced to take the two children in. Ada teaches herself to ride a pony, she learns to read, she watches for German spies, and she begins to trust Susan. And Susan begins to love Ada and Jamie. But in the end, will that bond be enough to hold them together through wartime? Or will Ada and her brother fall back into the cruel hands of their mother? This really is equal parts adventure and this moving tale of family and identity. The War That Saved My Life is this wonderful book. The sequel, The War That I Finally Won, is equally amazing, both by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. Number 4, The Book of Dust, Volume 1, La Belle Sauvage, by Philip Pullman. The Book of Dust is the new companion series to his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, which is one of my favorite series ever. This original trilogy is just a fantasy classic at this point. The main character, Lyra, is one of the best characters in fantasy that there is, and I highly recommend reading this original trilogy, but you don't need to have read it to enjoy The Book of Dust. Coming back to this world, though, was like putting on a cozy sweater. I didn't just love this book because of my love for the original series. This is a magnificent title on its own. Malcolm was just so likable and compelling. I wanted to keep reading about him forever. He is the kind of boy who notices everything but is not much noticed himself. And so perhaps it is inevitable that Malcolm becomes a spy. His father runs an inn called the Trout that is on the banks of the River Thames, and all of Oxford passes through its doors. Malcolm and his demon Asta routinely overhear news and gossip and the occasional scandal, but during a winter of unceasing rain, Malcolm catches wind of something new: intrigue. He finds a secret message inquiring about a dangerous substance called dust, and the spy it was intended for finds him. When she asks Malcolm to keep his eyes open, Malcolm sees suspicious characters everywhere. Lord Asriel, clearly on the run, enforcement agents from the Magisterium, an Egyptian named Coram with warnings just for Malcolm, and a beautiful woman with an evil monkey for a demon. All are asking about the same thing: a girl, just a baby named Lyra. Lyra is the kind of person who draws people in like magnets, and Malcolm will brave any danger and make shocking sacrifices to bring her safely through the storm. This book was especially good as an audiobook. An actor, Michael Sheen, reads the audio and he just nails every character and nuance. This turns into this great escape adventure, and the excitement is just palpable listening to the audiobook. The second book in the Book of Dust series is out and available as well, The Secret Commonwealth. Timeline-wise, you have La Belle Sauvage, where Lyra is a baby. The original trilogy takes place between the ages of around 10 to like 15. And in The Secret Commonwealth, you see Lyra as an adult. And it is so interesting seeing this character in all of these different contexts and seeing this development through all of these different stories. And the storytelling is just so powerful that the timeline is secondary. It doesn't need to be linear to understand and to feel the power of these stories. It's just incredible what Philip Pullman does with these. The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman. Number 3, Cinder by Marissa Mayer. I love books based on classic fairy tales, and the Lunar Chronicles, the series that starts with Cinder, is by far the best in my opinion. This takes place in the distant future. Lynn Cinder is a cyborg living in New Beijing. She's a talented mechanic who is mistreated by her family and viewed as less than by society. When Prince Kai comes looking for a mechanic, Cinder finds herself pulled into the conflict between Earth and the Lunar Queen Levana. I have to admit that I went into reading this book with low expectations. Oh, that book cover just wasn't for me, but it had been highly recommended to me. I obviously love reading science fiction, and I gave it a try. I was totally blown away. This is such a fun sci-fi series. The characters are so memorable and well developed. There's so much action and mystery. It just really has something for everyone. Again, Cinder is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles. There are actually some spin-offs, like graphic novels featuring other characters. There's a lot out there with this world of stories, and they are all equally fun and engaging. Cinder by Marissa Mayer. Number 2, Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I was in such a reading slump last year, similar to how I'm feeling now, unfortunately, in the midst of all of this COVID-19 stuff. But none of the books I was reading were bad. They were fine, but there was just nothing amazing. And then I read Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and this is just a lush, beautiful fantasy that reminded me exactly how exciting and enveloping a book can be. I loved it so much. I wished it was something I could experience reading for the first time again. Luckily, the sequel is just as good. But in this book, Laszlo Strange is an orphan. He's a lowly junior librarian, and he's been obsessed with the lost city of Weep since he was a child. He expects to spend his life in service to the great work of others. But when the Godslayer, a man claiming to be from Weep, arrives recruiting a team to help the city conquer a problem, Laszlo's obsession proves useful. What happened in Weep 200 years ago to cut it off from the rest of the world? What exactly did the Godslayer slay that went by the name of God? What is this mysterious problem he now seeks help in solving? Laszlo joins the journey back to Weep, where he thinks he'll find the answers to these and all of his old questions, but more mysteries are soon revealed. There is a blue-skinned goddess who appears in his dreams, and how did he dream her before he knew she really existed? If all the gods are dead, how does she seem so real? This book is filled with lush language, this diverse cast of beautifully written and complex characters. There's this plot with truly unexpected twists and turns. This is just a gem of a book, and a real star of the last decade of YA Lit. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and the sequel, and it's a duology, so it's just the 2 books. The Muse of Nightmares is also available. I feel like I need some fanfare. Dun da da da! Number 1, Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wayne. Dear readers, I ugly cried. I read Codename Verity back in 2013, and it still haunts me. In the best of ways, of course. When their British spy plane crashes in Nazi-occupied France, best friends Julie and Maddie, its pilot and passenger, are soon separated, with one being captured. When Verity is arrested by the Gestapo, she's sure she doesn't stand a chance. As a secret agent captured in enemy territory, she's living a spy's worst nightmare. Her Nazi interrogators give her a simple choice: reveal her mission or face a grisly execution. As she intricately weaves her confession, Verity uncovers her past, how she became friends with the pilot Maddie, and why she left Maddie in the wrecked fuselage of their plane. On each scrap of paper, Verity battles for her life, confronting views on courage and failure and her desperate hope to make it home. But will trading her secrets be enough? Will the web she spins condemn the girls or save them from the enemy? Did I mention that I ugly cried? Harrowing and beautifully written. I read a lot and it's tough to surprise me, but I gasped so many times, and it isn't until late in the book that you even realize just how much of a puzzle Verity created. The attention to historical details make the book that much more powerful. The friendship that is at the core of the story has stuck with me for years. It's a true testament to how far people can go to care for the ones that we love. Oh, this book. Definitely my number 1 top 10 books of the 2010s. Codename Verity, Elizabeth Wayne. Well, I hope you are walking away with some ideas of new books or series to enjoy. As always, these are available to borrow or read for free online, and you can always reach out for more ideas or help accessing these and other ebooks. Until next time, thanks.